When you built Gurugram, you touted it as this modern city. When there's more than 100 millimeters of rain, the modern city sinks. What happens if you have an emergency? Judiciary, parliament, the executive, the media, they don't care. We are perhaps the most unskilled as far as administration is concerned. I would have hoped that we had learned something from the British, but obviously we haven't.
The urban chaos is not only one city.
It's every city.
Delhi, air pollution. Bangalore, traffic. Mumbai, floods.
We have terrible civil engineers in government. Every goddamn flyover either is non-aligned or is a waterfall. These are silly things.
Three quick changes that can be done right now. What would they be?
Congestion charges, high development fees for public services like drainage, all of that. And number 3, I would increase the house tax for the rich.
Hey everyone, this is the India Story podcast, and I have with me the one and only Suhel Seth, who has been leading a rather determined campaign to clean up urban India, and all strength to your arm, Suhel. And we're going to discuss the problems, and we're going to then also try and get you to outline some of the solutions. But it's bad. To get to your house, I had to take a motorboat, then I had to swim, then I had to wade through water, then I had to somehow climb up. This is not the way we should be living.
And we are now injecting humor into otherwise a very dark period in India's evolution. No one had imagined that a smart city, so-called smart city, would sink, no pun intended, to such depths. But it's not a new story. It's an old story regurgitating every year. It's not as if the monsoons have hit Gurugram or India in the last 100 years for the first time. There are issues with our administrative skills. We are perhaps the most unskilled as far as administration is concerned. I would have hoped that we had learned something from the British, but obviously we haven't. When you built Gurugram, you touted it as this modern city. And the modern city sinks when there's more than 100 millimeters of rain. And then every joker, every politician, every administrative member says, oh my God, it rained. Of course it rained. So, what are you supposed to do about it? It rains in London, it rains in New York. Do you see those cities capitulate? No, unless there's a freak situation. So the point is, for far too long, and I believe for far too long, we've been scared to take these jokers on. The media is scared, the citizen is even more scared, and the politician runs amok. But the tragedy is not the politicians, it's actually the bureaucrat. The politician still has to be elected. But then if you look at that frame of things, in most urban cities, they don't care about that electorate. It's not their vote base. So today, Gurugram contributes singly more taxes than all cities of Haryana put together. But do they care? No. The MP is missing. The MLAs are missing. The mayor, no one has seen her. I don't even know if she exists, or she may be dead, or must have flown away or floated away. We don't know. And no one wants to ask these people because we are scared in this country of accountability. And look at the tragedy. Narendra Modi's first public program in 2014 was Swachh Bharat. And everyone laughed, and I said it is the most apt program.
Absolutely. And that's something that needs to be taken forward. But Gurugram obviously is where you live. You've been talking a lot about it. But the urban chaos is not only one city.
It's every city.
Delhi, air pollution. Bangalore, traffic. Mumbai, floods, other stuff. City after city is dealing with garbage issues. So it's pretty much a bit of an urban crisis across the country.
Because we don't have urban planners. We have developers who have deep pockets. They fund the politicians, they fund the elections, they bribe the administration. That's how it goes. The courts refuse to intervene because, judges stay in sprawling bungalows which never get flooded. One day I hope their bungalows get flooded and then they'll wake up. So the tragedy is all your pillars, whether it's the judiciary, parliament, the executive, the media, they don't care. I remember when Shashi Tharoor tweeted about the fact that he was flooded out, then people say, oh, NDMC. Why? The problem is we have become an uncaring, uncivil society which takes indignity as a matter of form. This is not dignified living. You know, there are some stupid people, both in the media and the administration, who say, oh, people who live in fancy homes, what are they complaining about? I'm not bothered. I live a very good life because DLF maintains this complex brilliantly. Transfer the governance to DLF. They won't. But who will make money? My issue is you have 6 hospitals in Gurugram. You have about 29 hospitals within the metropolitan area of Bangalore. You have 19 hospitals within South and North Bombay. What happens if you have an emergency? What happens if you have to go for your chemo cycle? What happens if your children have to go to school? Oh, let's do it online. You had the irresponsible DC of Gurugram that day tweet saying, oh, it's raining and it's flooded. Of course it's raining and flooded. We can bloody see it. So there's no point telling us what we know. Tell us what you will do about it. And it is a general Indian malaise. Each one of us is responsible. We are great whiners. We'll always be whinging. This is not working. That is not working. Who's destroying Pahadi Rasta? Who's destroying Delhi's bylanes? The rich. Those people will keep their homes clean, but they'll dump garbage wherever they want to. Construction debris wherever they want to. So you can blame the administration, but I think citizenry in India is at its lowest ebb. And unless you make punishment demonstrable, nothing will change.
I mean, again, I have to agree with you, because if you look at, for example, traffic and things like that, look at the way people drive. And we're not going to just whine, I hope, on this podcast.
Not at all.
We're going to try and find practical solutions, because I cannot believe that in a country filled with, there are a fair number of smart people in the country, I cannot believe we cannot find solutions to the same urban problems that have been solved in city after city across the world.
Look at Lucknow. Look at Indore. Look at both those cities. They are run by BJP governments. So you can't say, oh, Aam Aadmi Party is a bunch of rascals. No. The BJP has been running Haryana for 3 terms. Before that, it was Huda and his ilk. It is now not linked to government. It is just linked to general apathy from the political class and from the administration. People pay a fortune to get posted in Gurugram. When they make their money and go to Hisar or wherever the hell they go to, they don't care. The point I'm making is, unless you have accountability, which is demonstrable, punishment, both to citizens who are flagrant lawbreakers as well as administration, you will not have a solution. Because people will believe that they can buy their way out of illegality.
Okay, so accountability is what you're saying. Now, the political class may argue, and they often do, that these things matter to a small section of the elite.
Yes, it does.
The rest of the people don't care.
They can go to hell.
Votes. No, hang on. I'm actually challenging that concept.
No, they are talking rubbish. This is the stupid, pervasive argument that is often touted. Oh, the rich can take care. Why? I pay my house tax. I pay road tax. Why the hell should I suffer? You know, many years ago, one of your colleagues asked me on a television program, why do you drive a Ferrari in a poor country? I said, I pay my taxes. I can drive what the hell I want. Please don't do whataboutery on a facetious argument such as, oh, the rich can take care of themselves. We are paying. It's not as if we are bloody living here for free. You pay high maintenance charges. You couldn't get to a complex. I mean, this argument is the most odious argument of trying to get away from responsibility and accountability.
I think I'm trying to make a different point. I'm saying that I'm not 100% sure that it's not that the poor or the middle class enjoy living
Absolutely.
in, flooded streets and traffic.
I will not get electrocuted
and all that. I think these are things that have now started to bother people a lot. There was a time when there was a question of roti kapda and you were maybe struggling for that. But now, I actually believe there are votes in this. Nobody wants to live in filth and squalor.
But they don't.
Nobody wants to live in that.
No, I agree with you, Vikram, but no one is doing anything about it. Let me give you an example. Who were the people who were electrocuted to death in flooded waters? From the less privileged. Who are the people who suffer the most daily wages? Aren't they their vote bank? Let's, for a moment, argue that, yes, the rich can take care of themselves. What the hell are you doing about the poor? These are vultures. They are feeding on our misery. And they're feeding on collective misery. And we are allowing these scoundrels to get away because the courts of law are not intervening. Why the hell has no one filed a PIL in the Haryana and Punjab High Court? Why has no one gone to the Supreme Court? We go for every goddamn thing to the Supreme Court. I'll tell you why. Precisely because people who are rich have obviously broken some goddamn law or the other, and they don't want to speak truth to power. See, what we have done, Vikram, is we have created three things. Fear about powerful people. Two, मैं क्यों पंगे लूं? मेरा क्या जाता है? मैं इस प्रॉब्लम का घूंट पी के सर्वाइव कर लूंगा. Number three, nothing will change. The most dangerous argument is nothing will change, because nothing will change is mired in cynicism and pessimism. And the nothing will change is exactly what the administration, the bureaucracy, or the politicians are looking for. They want you to say nothing will change. But when nothing will change, you'll be hapless. You'll say, yaar, theek hai, goli maar do.
So how many people have called you and said, why are you taking such a panga? Why are you talking so much? Why don't you pipe down?
Okay. To be fair, and I must give credit, Rajiv Jaitley, who's the national spokesperson for BJP, and I'm saying this on record, he said, Naib Singh Saini is extremely concerned and deeply upset and understands your pain. And to be fair, they asked me to meet him at Copernicus Marg in Delhi, whatever the hell that is. Must be the Haryana guest
Central
house.
Delhi, yeah.
No, I know where it is, and I couldn't make it because I traveled. The MCG commissioner, a chap called Pradeep Dhaya, called me on the day I tweeted. But he went on to overdrive about his own accomplishments. जी मैंने हिसार में ये किया था, आप किसी को पूछ लीजिए. मैं क्यों पूछूं? Am I doing a bloody appraisal? No. Am I paying your salary? I am, as a taxpayer. The one person or group of people who have actually done well is the Gurugram police. When the deluge happened, everyone from the cops, whether they were part of the traffic police or not, and there's a gentleman, I forget his name, Mr. Mohan or Dr. Mohan, right there in front. The DC Gurugram, there used to be a guy called Amit Khatri, outstanding, during COVID. I don't know where the hell he's gone. So, point I'm making is, there are no statues of committees in any parks. So when they tell you we are setting up a commission, you can safely assume that they'll do diddly jack. But there are great individuals.
Fine. So I do want to start moving towards the direction of, okay, how do you solve each of these problems? But before I do that, look, we've been saying that it is not correct for anybody to live like this, right? And it's not a rich question or something for the
It's
for the
terrible
middle class.
for brand India.
It is. I was coming to that also. Forget about the fact that the way Indians are living. What is the amount of pain and punishment that the country takes? How do you lure people to come to this country as tourists?
You can't.
How do you build brand India if the dominant image of India around the world is constantly garbage and filth and flooded roads and air pollution?
And one person I actually feel bad for, because I've known him for long and I know what he thinks, is Narendra Modi. See what he did in Gujarat. I'll tell you, in 2008, he and I were having dinner. He was chief minister. He told me, Suhel bhai, kal kahan ja rahe hain? I said, Bombay. Tata saab ko boliye Nano yahan le aaye. Nano had just been moved out of Singur. And I met Mr. Tata the next evening in Bombay. This was September 2008. And then the Nano happened. The Prime Minister at that time was chief minister. He gave me a book. He says, dekhiye main kya karne ja raha hu. It was Gift City. On the 20th of August this year, I went to Gift City. It is a marvel. It is, Vikram, it is beyond imagination. I could have been in Singapore, and Singapore of the future, not Singapore of today. Everything, all your shared services are in a 7-kilometer tunnel, whether it's water, sewage, everything. It's planned. The problem in India is most of the time we are unplanned. And the worst word that we have justified for our stupidity is Jugaad. Jugaad is which has brought us to this level of shame and unplanned activity. So if people want to do stuff, they can. Look at the cleanup of Sabarmati. Look at what Mukesh Ambani and Neeta have done with the promenade running alongside the coastal road in Bombay. If private enterprise can do it, why the hell can't these jokers? Look at what DLF has done. If you come to Gurgaon and you take the underpass, the Raghavendra Chaudhary underpass, never flooded, don't touch wood. Why? Because they don't steal. We have terrible civil engineers in government. Every goddamn flyover either is non-aligned or is a waterfall. These are silly things. I mean, these are not things that need rocket science. And when you tell me we have smart people, we may have smart people, but we have unsmart governance. So our people, even in government, are stupid. You tell me, and plus then the optics. Rekha Gupta takes over as chief minister. First thing she does is runs a goddamn broom. Who are you fooling? Right behind some fellows actually throwing garbage so that she can clean. Those days are over, yeah. This Arvind Kejriwal style of management ki har waqt rote raho ji main kya karun ye wo, those days are over. Today there is enough probity and transparency and media spotlight.
Tell me something. You travel a lot. You've extensively spent time in London and New York and the rest of it. The image of India as a dirty place, the image of India as a place where there is urban chaos, would you say that's probably one of the single biggest blots on brand India?
It is the biggest. And my advice, not that anyone cares to listen, my advice to the Prime Minister would be to sack the governments wherever his political party is in power if they refuse to toe the line on simple things like cleanliness, sewage, garbage removal. It doesn't require rocket science. Air pollution.
If you look at the images on social media, you spend a lot of time in your social media, what is it that the people who are anti-India circulate on a daily
Floods,
basis?
Cars being...
People shitting on the street.
Cars being flooded.
Cars being flooded, air pollution, and Indians are a filthy race. That is the...
We are very clean when we are inside our homes. पर वो हमारे बाप का रास्ता नहीं है ना, तो उस पे हम लोग कूड़ा फेंकेंगे. It is, and as I said in my opening remarks, the citizen is equally to blame.
Yes.
If he or she constructs an illegal building, they will bribe the guy. They won't have the guts. And I'll give you an example. And there are enough examples of goodness happening. Goa, no matter what you might say about government, blah, 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 relatively clean. I've not had an experience where people have asked me for a bribe. But they would obviously be terrified of asking me a bribe because I'll shame them that same evening. But the point I'm making is that there are good people. And we need to salute those good people. But the good people are totally snowed under this weight of bribery, corruption, non-performance. See, I have no issues with you coming out on the street, cleaning it up, and then saying, oh my God, that bit has been left out. But the intent has vanished. Salman Khan's father, Salim Saab, one day, we were walking on the Bandra bandstand, and I asked him, I said, Salim Saab, अगर भारत की कोई प्रॉब्लम्स हैं वो क्या हैं? जैसे सुहेल भाई दो चीज़ें, शर्म गायब है और माँ गायब है. तो ऐसे क्यों? जैसे सुहेल जी पुराने ज़माने में अगर आप किसी स्मगलर के घर से गुजरते थे तो आप बोलते थे देखो कैसा तुच्चा आदमी है, इतना पैसा इसने गलत तरीके से कमाया है. और इसे पुराने ज़माने में माँ सिखाती थी कि झूठ नहीं बोलो. इसे आजकल माँ के लिए अगर फ़ोन आए बच्चा उठाए तो माँ पीछे से बोल देती है बोल दो मैं घर पे नहीं हूँ. These are the two things, shame and upbringing. Let me tell you, and hats off to DLF and to Rajiv Singh and his daughter, and I'll say this publicly. There are innumerable times that I've had to complain about people drying their bloody clothes on balconies. These are sensible, intelligent people. It's a question of upbringing. It's a question of breeding. No pun intended. And there's no shame because today money can buy anything.
So there are people who will say that, look, this is all nothing new. People have always thrown garbage.
Yes, it's nothing
people
new.
They've always
then
been
live like this.
Planning, there's always been dirt.
So
there's always been
then
filthy.
keep living like this.
So you have to fix it, right? So now let's start.
Absolutely. And Vikram, I'm so glad that you're doing this podcast because even the media, to my mind, largely pays lip service. And how did I get involved? Just totally by accident. I was at an Indian Express event. They should have never asked me to speak. I was sitting at the back, and one of the Express people said, oh, will you ask a question? I said, I have no question. There was Vinay Saxena, who's a good person, the LG of Delhi, and Amitabh Kant. And I said, Gurugram is actually a national shame. Then someone edited the shorts, and I said to Vinay Saxena and Amitabh Kant sitting there, I said, this is a 3-term BJP government. You all should be ashamed of what you all are doing because this is affecting brand India. And I said brand India. And to which Amitabh's response was, he says, I totally agree.
I did a podcast with Amitabh Kant and he again said that. He said one of the first things that you need to build brand India is to clean up municipal India because you can't build brand India while the dominant image of India is filth.
Because the mayor is not elected directly by the people. I'll tell you, I loved her to death. I did all my work, strategic work pro bono for Sheila Dikshit. I created the word Bhagidari, which was basically a partnership between resident welfare associations and the government. The two people who drove that were S. Regunathan, who was the then chief secretary, and Rajiv Talwar, who was DTDC. Both IS officers. Rajiv Talwar then went on to, the corporate world. It worked. A very dear friend of mine, Romi Chopra, who was in Vasant Vihar, who was the president of Vasant Vihar, did yeoman work for Vasant Vihar. So it's not as if we don't have good people. It's we don't have good intent.
So let's go item by item, right? Now, you take Swachh Bharat, for example. Now, I did greenathons and telethons, one after the
Absolutely.
other, talking about how you clean up India. And that actually predated the Prime Minister's very famous speech from the Red Fort in 2014, where he said Swachh Bharat has to be a national agenda. Now, the good part is open defecation to a large extent was fixed.
Absolutely, because of toilets.
Because of toilets. That was built as something the government could do. But the second part of it, which is garbage lying everywhere, filth lying everywhere, and people not picking it up, the government would say, well, what can we do if people keep throwing garbage? The flip side of that is, if it is cleaned up once, then people are less likely to throw garbage.
No, they're not. As I told you, they're shameless. So don't bother about that. But here are solutions. Number one, every city has tons of garbage that it spews out. You think New York spews out less garbage? Must be spewing out 20 times the garbage that Gurugram does. But they have recycling plants. And the recyclers are on the job. Earlier, we had scavenging, we had, street urchins who would sit next to street vats and collect all this stuff. Look at our landfills. They're a bloody pollution nightmare. No one does anything because you don't go there. So I have the following solutions. Number one, do not give a license to any goddamn developer unless it has been approved by three arms: the judiciary, the administration, and civil society. There are enough activists in Gurugram who will say that please don't destroy the Aravalis, which, by the way, you have destroyed to a large extent. Number two, you need demonstrable punishment, which is fiscal in nature. Remember, if you shame people, as I told you, वो गायब है. जब आप उनका पैसा लोगे ना, तब उनका बैंड बजेगा. So have fiscal penalties, which are obscene. Number three, and I'm telling you this
But how do
today,
you do that? Sorry, I'm just trying to understand that. How do you have a fiscal... If somebody is coming and throwing garbage in the middle of the night...
you
on the
have
side of the road-
CCTV. Why the hell don't you have CCTV cameras? You have a whole bloody
But
road.
you can't enforce somebody breaking a traffic light, where
This
again
is-
you have CCTVs. You don't do that.
That's
So-
my point. You need to create a structure of enforcement using technology. The Prime Minister said that about 10 days ago. And the Prime Minister earlier said that I will now use drones to manage urban India, which actually pick up what are the weak spots. Number three, we need to get into a major partnership which is private and public in nature. And let me take you back to 1983, 1984. There was a guy called A.V. Iyengar, you haven't heard of him. There was a guy called Ram Ray, who was an advertising legend. P.K. Dutt, all dead. P.K. Dutt was the head of Bata, and I was the low-lying, chap. We created an organization called Concern for Calcutta. And we said, Concern for Calcutta will get corporates to invest. And we only took up one ward, which is Ward 63 in Calcutta, which runs right through Park Street. Why? Everyone would see that. What did we do? We created garbage bins. We created guardrails so that people would not spill onto the road. We evicted hawkers in a nice way by setting up, a food park or whatever it was. Worked. Let me tell you, today Golf Course Road, or let's say MG Road in Bangalore, or Nangabakkam Road in Chennai, or let's say Marine Drive in Bombay. And I told you, Mukesh and Neeta have already done it. Let me tell you, there are, in addition to Gift City, there are two towns. Ask the people for help and they'll help you. Look at what has happened in Jamshedpur. It is the epitome of urban excellence. And that started in the early 1920s, 1930. 1904 was the steel plant, so it started around then. Jamnagar, squeaky clean. Today, if you ask an N. Chandrasekaran, the chairman of Tata Sons, or a Mukesh Ambani of Reliance, saying, will you give us your best people for 3 months on Lien to fix this, it'll be fixed. But I'll tell you why they won't want it. Because a Reliance or a Tata will not need bribe money. They have great intent. So I'm telling you, it's possible.
I understand bribing coming in some other areas, but fixing garbage, like where's the bribes in that?
Let me tell you, then you have no idea.
You mean the big contracts for collecting garbage. So that has to be therefore
Exactly, yeah. Now, I tell Vikram Chandra, who has one truck, कि भाई तुम ले लो contract. And another guy, Bashir, has 100 trucks, but I don't give to him. The bane of India is this bloody L1. People will quote the lowest, but they'll never do the work. They'll steal.
So in garbage, so let's just come back to the solution. So for garbage removal, you need to have proper companies, proper agencies, a fair amount of diligence done before you're hiring somebody.
What did Jai Lalita do? Jai Lalita actually asked people from JUSCO, which is the Jamshedpur Utilities and Supply Corporation, to send people when she wanted to clean up Chennai. Look, none of this is rocket science or impossible, but there has to be a willingness. But before the willingness, there has to be an acceptance of a problem. The tragedy is we are citizens living in denial.
But can I give you one more solution to the garbage mess? It's something which can be done centrally. A lot of the filth that you see with your visible eye, you drive through India, you see filth, right? And a lot of that is plastic. Now, this is something I've been saying for 15 years.
Look at what we've done to our hill stations.
Campaigns. Exactly. That plastic doesn't go. Other garbage may eventually, decay and compost. That chips packet or that piece of plastic will be there forever.
Get these companies that generate plastic. Tell them to start a campaign through their goddamn CSR. Yeah. Today you have a great minister in Hardeep Puri. He is the head of the oil and gas ministry. Ask Hardeep to instruct all the oil and gas companies to do this. Talk to a Chandrajit Banerjee of CII or a Rajiv Memani and say, how will CII partner it? The problem is the government has to take the initiative. Otherwise people will say, Arey yaar, hum kyun bole, hamara hi band bajega. This fear.
2010, 2011, a Greenathon or a such campaign, we actually said this, that can't we wage a war against plastic in the country? 15 years later, I mean, some things have been done, some reduction, but it's plastic is still everywhere.
For Sheila Dikshit, I ran a campaign called Say No to Plastics and My Delhi I Care. Who did we use for that campaign? School children. They enforced that their parents would never carry plastic bags when they went to Khan Market, wherever the hell they went. Why can't you do that? Children have great pester power, but today, because of parental abrogation, even the children are doing whatever the hell they want. My point, Vikram, is there are 4 issues that plague India. Garbage we've discussed. Drainage. How difficult is it to clean your storm drains? But the problem is that most of our cities are in valley shape. Now, Gurugram's specific problem is that it doesn't have a river as an outlet for the water to flow into. But for God's sake, you knew that. But you allowed rampant construction to happen. Now there is construction of golf course extension. If they continue this way, we might reach, Kazakhstan one day as part of golf course.
So hang on, let's go item by item. You're right, garbage was the first one. Now let's come to flooding and drainage. And the fact is, as you began by saying some time back, it is not a secret that it is going to rain in India in the months of July, August and September.
Look at what Mamata Banerjee has done. A lot of these guys curse her. See what Mamata has done with Calcutta. Calcutta today is back almost 80% to its former glory as far as cleanliness and flood management is concerned. Look at what Chandrababu is doing with Amravati. These are planned cities. Calcutta is an older city and still they are managing to do it. Here we don't have the wherewithal in terms of willingness or intent. That's my worry. See, I understand that India is a complex country. We have many issues to contend with. I am saying, पहली चीज आपकी नीयत साफ होनी चाहिए. अगर आपकी नीयत ही बुरी है, तो आप अच्छा काम कैसे करोगे?
But एक बार आपकी नीयत ठीक हो जाए, then the question is, what should you be doing? So when it comes to flooding, one of the things that has baffled me about India for decades is we have this constant water surplus which is leading to flooding during the monsoons, and then we are water scarce the rest of the year. The logical thing is to make it mandatory in every city, in every town across India.
To create swales and rainwater harvesting.
To have rainwater harvesting.
Now let me tell you.
To have bowlies, to have ways in which that water can be captured.
By the way, there were 670 ponds within the district of Gurugram. How many are there today? Take a guess.
0?
7.
7.
You dry up all this because you want to bloody build buildings. This is what you will do. You will suffer.
When you're having roads being flooded, right, the logical thing to think of is on the side of the road you have drain waters. Why can't a lot of these places, the low-lying areas which are capturing water, put rainwater harvesting pits in that?
They won't, because as I said, no one is using their goddamn brain. We are an unintelligent people when it comes to solving problems. We are a very intelligent society when it comes to highlighting problems. So I'm saying, let's get into solutions.
Which is why I'm keeping on going from the problem to finding the
Exactly.
solution. So, okay, we've got rainwater harvesting, we've got ancient
garbage.
bodies. No, but let's just finish with the flooding. What else can be done to stop the flooding of the streets?
You can have the famous tuli pumps, which actually pump out water, especially near areas which have access for emergency services. All your hospitals, their access roads are flooded every goddamn time. वो तो आप थोड़ी अपनी अक्ल use करो. A, B, create what I call emergency access roads, which will always remain clear during, let's say, unseasonal rain or during a massive downpour. You don't even do that.
Yeah, because then everyone will immediately jump onto that.
Yeah, but the
I
point
think
is you're
traffic is
providing access. You're providing access. Now traffic.
I'm coming to that. That's point number 3, which we will come to, and then pollution is probably point number 4, and we'll probably find a point number 5 as well. But on flooding, any other solutions that you can think of?
And this flooding solution happened. It's happened in Calcutta, and I know what they've done, and they've done a remarkable job. Yes, if it's very unseasonal or very heavy, it's bound to happen.
No, you can have some massive storm. I mean, frankly, it's not as if New York doesn't get flooded.
I mean, New York, look at what happened. But the recovery of the city happens because people there can lose their jobs or be sued silly. Here, no one has the fear of losing their jobs. A, B, they've made so much of bloody bribe money that they don't even care if they lose their jobs.
Right, we've done garbage, we've done flooding. Now let's turn our attention to traffic, which is probably one of the most visible signs of urban degradation.
Gurugram is safe. We've got a good...
But I'm sort of looking at the rest of the country, right?
Rest of the
you go to
country.
Bangalore, you've got to go look at Delhi.
Because we do not plan. We do not have predictive thinking. Traffic is a predictive thinking process. A, B. In China, for a 17 to 18 kilometer flyover to be built, it takes about 3 to 4 months. In India, it takes 13 years.
That's improving now. And I think to be fair, the construction of roads and flyovers...
Yeah, but people keep praising Gadkari and hats off to him, but see the condition of some of our highways. You tell me, Delhi NCR is the showpiece and the capital. Try getting from Gurugram to Delhi.
But Delhi NCR is also, let's be honest about it, has been a bit of a battleground between the central government and the state government. And as a result, very little development has happened in Delhi for 10 years.
So my advice is, you want the best solution? Take Gurugram away from Haryana. Give it to a central authority. Let Amit Shah or Modi or whoever. And in 1 year, Vikram, I'm telling you today, in 1 year, this problem will be solved.
So the traffic issue is not just, of course, in the north. I mean, like cities like Bangalore. So the question is that when you're a city like Bengaluru, for example, now Mumbai is finding a solution by saying we're going to build roads, and they needed to. They needed some wide thoroughfares. So now if you look at it, you can go from Bandra to Pedder Road, and I tried it and I was shocked, in 16 minutes. With
yeah,
the new
but now
roads.
Go back to government courts. The Atal Setu, which is marvelous, was sanctioned in 1963. It got completed in 2024. That tells you about administrative lacuna and this ridiculous PILs which jokers file, and everything goes tup. So you will have to have better planning, better jurisdiction, and more finite laws to address the issue of urban malaise.
I've heard a lot of debate about...
You have a Tada court, you have a Kofiposa court, create urban courts, which fast track. So suppose Vikram Chandra goes to that urban court of India, UCI, and says, this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem. That court is staffed by judges, but it's also staffed by engineering experts or urban planners. And they say, okay, we give you 4 months to do this, 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 this. Doesn't happen, take away their licenses.
But the urban planners sit on plans forever. I mean, there's a Delhi master plan that has existed.
Because there's no accountability.
Forever. It's been like...
That's what I'm saying. The moment you have a court...
The Delhi master plan 2041 will probably end up getting passed in 2060.
Send them to jail. You watch how quickly things will happen. All you need to do is arrest one politician and one chief secretary and watch what happens.
You can't arrest a politician or chief secretary for not passing a law.
But then do it. Now, you can't arrest them, you can't make them accountable. तो बस बाबा जी का ठुल्लू आप घंटा बजाते रहो. Then आप बाहर जाओ balcony पे और प्लेटों पे मारते रहो और that's how you will live.
Let's just come to one sort of philosophical question around traffic, because we are solving problems one by one, right? Right now we've got...
We think we are solving?
Well, I'm getting you to solve. You said stop whining, find solutions. So I'm saying, okay, let's find solutions. So I'm asking you, when it comes to traffic, two ways of approaching it. One is you build the roads. Delhi's got good roads. Mumbai is now building these roads. Philosophy one. Philosophy two is to do what cities like London, which is a place where you spend a lot of
congestion charges,
which is do not assume you can't have too much private transportation. Do state-of-the-art public transportation.
So
and then
now you've hit the nail on the head. Let's take, because we are sitting in Gurugram, take the case of Gurugram. The Gurugram metro is an internal service. You don't even have a metro that connects Gurugram to Delhi airport. Whereas you have a brilliant service which you can take from central Delhi straight to the airport. You can even check in at the station. Look at what Hong Kong has done. Hong Kong was dense, like you can't imagine. They managed to do it. Yeah, where every time we say China.
You mentioned Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, every time you're building a building, you have to say, where is the metro station it's going to be connected to? You build
like in London.
The crux of the problem in Delhi is actually, or any of the cities in India, is not just about the existence of the metro system. Sometimes they are good metro systems.
Your public transport.
It is your last mile.
When was the last time you took a bus? A, B. When the floods happened, a lot of people took the metro. But when they reached their destination, whether here or wherever, their cars and their motorcycles and their scooters were all flooded out.
So the crux of the issue is that you cannot tell people use public transport unless you fix the last mile. You can get to the metro station. From the metro station, how are you going to go to your house?
Exactly.
How are you going to get to your office?
Create shuttles.
So you need shuttles, you need pods, you need electric vehicles that are going to take them from the metro station to their homes.
You need to create what I would call deterrent charges. How difficult is it for school children to go in a school pool? The schools should discourage cars, private cars. And a school in Goa, where my daughter goes to, RD, discourages. They want people to come by school bus. It's not because the school bus is making money. Let's imagine they're making money. But one is you create fraternity building. Number two, you create less congestion on your roads. So let me tell you, none of this that we're talking about is rocket science. But someone needs a rocket lit up there, you know what, for them to be able to work. And my issue is, as long as India and Indians are in denial, no matter who and where they are, we will never lick a problem. You first have to admit there's a problem before you find a solution.
But abhi solution beyond list karte hain. I'll give you one more solution. One more solution that should be mandated, and when you are appointed, the head of urban planning for all of India,
right.
Then one of the other problems is we keep saying, why aren't people walking? Why aren't people cycling?
Because there are no roads.
There are no pavements. So one of the major areas which I think needs to be addressed, if you look at why does India look dirty, it's because the pavements, the sides of the road are always dirty and dusty.
Because you're allowing hawkers, and one minute, their daily wages, they provide, actually you get the best food from street hawkers. Now, Bangkok has street hawkers who are world famous, but there are designated areas.
So
Khao Gali in Indore, Singapore street hawker has actually a Michelin star for Hainanese chicken. Point I'm making is, all of this has been done to death, and there are global examples. We just need to replicate them, and we are pretty good at copying. So why the hell aren't we doing it?
Why can't we build pavements? Can somebody explain that to me?
Because all your pavements are encroaching on someone's illegal encroachment already. Today, and I've said this before, Gurugram has more liquor vends than traffic lights. Or schools. You have more bars than functioning traffic lights. So when your priorities are to get people totally sozzled, I'm just talking about priorities which, by the way, are inextricably linked to greed and avarice of an illegal nature.
We haven't yet touched upon some other urban issues like pollution, because that's tougher to do.
Frankly, it's a bigger deal. This nonsense between Punjab, Haryana and Delhi, the Supreme Court tried it. I don't know where the solution lies. And the solution again lies in the way we conduct ourselves. And it's important to also recognize that farmers have every right to their existence. What are we doing with incentivization? What are we doing with cooling towers? What are we doing with pollution units? Nothing. Diddly jack.
The solutions will also, if you fix some of the things that we were talking about, like public transportation, then
it'll happen.
That has its own impact.
While someone told me that parali burning is only 30% of the cause of pollution. 70% is all the other stuff. You have smelter plants, you have units in urban areas which you didn't move. Now you've moved them. Now let's see. But again, your rivers are being fed all kinds of pollutants which are actually destroying the rivers. People are saying, oh, it'll destroy the fish. Forget the fish. It'll destroy the river. And the rivers of India are our lifeline. And again, what we could have done with waterways, we have not done. If you had great waterways, let's say if you had a great waterway from Bengal right up to, let's say, central India, or let's say down to Kerala. Today, if you go back to the opium route, and I don't want to talk about opium, it was all from the Bay of Bengal, from Sundarbans upwards. Today, if I want to go to Patna from Calcutta, I have a beautiful, look at the width of the Hooghly River. But no one uses their brains. And to be fair to Mamta, she was the first to talk about river tourism, as she was the first to talk about railways becoming an important lifeline. And hats off to what these guys are doing. Whether you like it or not, I know of many people, Vikram, who refuse to drive anymore between Bombay and Goa. More and more people want to go by Rajdhani. So obviously some things are happening. I'm saying speed it up. You need fast movement. Today, someone told me the other day that they've launched Ro-Ro vehicles between Ratnagiri and Bombay or wherever. That'll help. We need to do more. We need to stop being tokenists. We are damn good for tokenism and for optics. Instead of bloody putting full-page ads in newspapers exhorting your virtues and erecting your own statue, do things that will actually change lives.
Do you think it's also time to sit back and take a look at some big bang solutions? For example, there was an idea, I thought it was a fantastic idea in a city like Delhi, where actually if you were to look at Delhi from a Google Maps or from a plane, it's a very green city. You could actually do walking tracks and cycling tracks literally from one end of Delhi to the other.
Look at what they've done in Bombay.
So that's a sort of a thing. If you do it and you have some safety, you have some security, people can start using those thoroughfares.
In Bombay, now you'll again say, oh, it is elitist. It is. So Bombay today, what they've done is, in Malabar Hill, near the Hanging Gardens, they've created a hidden forest which has a walking track. People are loving it. Can I tell you one thing? Where I live, we are blessed. Where do children in this country go to qua parks? Where do they go? Delhi is green, half the bloody parks are locked out. Our monuments are in miserable shape.
Starting to improve, though.
Of course.
Archaeological park.
But I'm saying we need to do more. And let me tell you, it is also equally unfair to blame only the government. Why don't corporations sponsor parks? Look at the number of sponsors that Central Park gets. Whether you want a bench named after your late grandfather or you want a manhole, it's all there. We just need to do more. This constant beration of the rich, why should we give publicity? Bullshit. जहाँ से पैसा आ रहा है और अगर लीगल पैसा है और आपकी स्थिति को इम्प्रूव करे, ले लीजिए.
I think there's a lot of CSR money out there. It can be used for some of these things. Of all the problems we outlined, how would you rank them? Which do you think is the biggest crisis in India right now?
Flooding, and I'll tell you why. Because flooding has a correlated health angle to it. If you remember...
But flooding is 2 months or 3 months in a year. Some of the other things are...
the health things can be the same. The epidemic ratio qua flooding is the highest amongst any other forms of, urban disasters. I remember many, many years ago, people would distribute halazone tablets when floods in Calcutta would hit you, because the water would come till here. You have septicemia. You have 100 things here. People are dying of electrocution. Flooding is an issue. And I don't want to prioritize because, one man's poison is another man's nectar. We need to prioritize all of them which impact civil, dignified living.
One of the ways to do this is, of course, there is the Danda approach. You should name and shame. You should say these are the cities that are getting it wrong. But also look at positive examples where people have done something and figure out how you can change it.
Look at Jamshedpur, look at Jamnagar, look at what
those are private sector.
Sajjan Jindal has done with Vijayanagar.
So some of those are private sector driven.
But so do it.
But even as from a government point of view, I was actually, last time I went to Agra, a city which is one of the filthiest cities I've ever seen.
It is clean as
it is cleaned up incredibly. My jaw fell open.
Yogi Adityanath. Let me tell you today, If Yogi Adityanath was Chief Minister of Haryana, half these guys would be arrested, the other half would be whipped into shape. You need strong leaders.
Indore, there are a number of
Indore.
places where things have started to get done. I thought Lucknow had also been cleaned up a lot.
Lucknow
when I
is
saw it.
marvelous today. Marvelous.
So it can be done, right? It's not that it cannot
Of course
be
it
done.
can be done.
All right, so I'm going to end with my usual rapid fire round. So if you had the power to implement 3 quick changes that can be done right now, what would they be?
Congestion charges, high development fees for public services like drainage, all of that. And number 3, I would increase the house tax for the rich.
Okay, global cities for inspiration, Singapore, Tokyo, London.
The best is Singapore, but see, it's a city-state, so, it's not an ideal example. But look at the cleanup Bangkok did 10, 12 years ago. They cleaned it up. Where there's a will, there is a way.
Civil engineers failing or under-resourced?
Failing.
All right, future of Indian cities in one word.
Miserable today could be very bright tomorrow if you shoot and arrest.
Gurugram is done. Exaggeration or reality?
No, I said that. That was my line. In today's context, it is done, but I'm a great believer that things will, can, and must improve. We have to have the resolve, and we have to have not the patience, but the alacrity. The problem is we've become too patient a nation.
All right, other than the firing squad, last question. If you were to put together a team of 3 people to fix urban India, who would make the list on that?
Sridharan, because he's worked, the Metro Man. Yogi Adityanath, because he can kick ass. And S.V. Raghunathan, who is the former Chief Secretary of Delhi.
So, an urban reform commission of some sort?
Absolutely.
Reporting directly to the Prime Minister?
Absolutely.
Can get done?
It must get done.
And it will, you think, have an impact not just on the living standards of Indians, but
A, B,
also on tourism and on brand India?
Yeah, and B, it'll put the fear of God into all the developers, realtors, brokers, citizens who believe they can get away. Look, I'll just leave you with one example. If DLF can create a paradise, why can't everyone else? And there are many errant...
People will say DLF has a lot more money. You can't replicate this in all corners of
So
India.
ask them for help. I'm not saying create another DLF. Ask them, bhai, आपने कौन सा material use किया था for the underpass? किसने design किया था? At least the damn thing will not leak or crumble. That you can ask them. I told you, ask Mukesh Ambani or N. Chandrasekaran to send their best people who've built their townships. They will help.
I'm going to ask you a question. Supposing it costs 100,000 crore rupees for the next 3 years
Worth it.
to fix urban India, right?
Worth it.
How soon do you think we'll recover that money?
In about 5 to 10 years, because you will recover it in 3 ways. Number 1, you will have fresh investment in reality. Number 2, you'll have greater impetus in tourism. Number 3, people will invest more, businesses from outside. Look, people want predictability and dignified living. They're not asking for the moon.
But I think I'm disagreeing with you there. If you invest that 100,000 crores, I don't think you make it back in 10 years. I think you'll make it back in 3 years.
I said 3 to 5 years.
Just the tourist influx, just the impact it has, the multiplier effects
Absolutely.
are massive. So time to do it. Suhel Seth, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'll be on the India Story podcast with Vikram Chandra on Hook to discuss the urban malaise in India and how we can hopefully solve it. Because the India Story podcast is about creating long-term solutions and not just whining about present-day problems. Watch me on Hook.